Anaro Hospital Daily Update. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. After losing the Corinthos house, Cain may turn into a real monster. According to General Hospital spoilers and updates, you should prepare yourself for an even more evil Drew because this foe has the potential to reach unprecedented lows. Drew has been bragging about owning the Hugh mansion while strutting around like a peacock. Drew has been strutting around town, bragging as though he has already won ever since Veronica Ronnie Bard agreed to sell him the mansion. According to GH spoilers, Drew will be taken aback when his plan to take possession of the property fails. Given that Tracy Cordyne has discovered Monica Cordane's true will, things are already moving in that direction. Tracy will quickly review the information and discover that Ronnie lacks the right to sell the family home. Tracy may soon be quite outspoken and proud about inheriting the mansion instead. As all signs point to Monica's intention, there will be additional Drew drama in the works. There will undoubtedly be some more turmoil on Drew's end in the interim. This is because Outback will take the mansion documents as soon as Ronnie is about to sign them. Outback will undoubtedly cause a lot of trouble, and Drew will be hobbling after her long enough for Tracy to arrive at the Cain home. Drew will try to put the mansion signing back on track. But when Tracy barges in and reveals Monica's true motivations, it could be too late. Naturally, even if Drew succeeded in getting Ronnie to sign the paperwork, the sale would fall through. Drew is being prosecuted for fraud. Drew will not take the crown of the Cordyne estate as he had planned because this is an obvious example of deception. Rather, he will crash and burn dramatically. And we can only imagine that after this huge defeat, he will be even more motivated to get revenge. Just wait till Drew's ambitious ideas for the mansion catch fire. If you previously thought he was a formidable foe, Drew can adopt a more nasty persona and use even more dishonest strategies. Drew might become a true adversary and spiral out of control as a result of this big setback, which could result in some unexpected events. According to General Hospital recaps for Wednesday, November th, Anna Dean was abducted and Sonny Corinthos had lunch with Justine Turner. The Davis girls also were called Gio Palmieri, Sam McCall and Tracy Cordyne all understood that she needed her family. Sonny Corinthos and Ada had dinner together. Turner Justine for a private supper. With Justine, Sonny booked the throwing club, but he changed the menu from pizza with olives to lasagna. She made a joke about how he, the town's alleged criminal boss, had set up a trap for her, the acting district attorney, by taking her to a location where there were no witnesses and sharp weapons. Sonny made jokes about Justine going to his team's games and taunted that she threw a hatchet like she didn't play softball after she missed her first throw. The fact that she hadn't caught him didn't imply he wasn't cheating, she said. Therefore, she wanted to make sure he wasn't. He slipped between her fingers. Sonny muttered as he leaned in. Sonny asked Justine to pardon him in order to avoid prosecuting Michael Corinthos. Sonny later asked her over dinner if she would forgive him for trapping her. She said she didn't need to recuse herself because the PCPD was investigating a case against Willow Tate. Justine didn't want to hand up a high-profile case to an associate, especially because she was sure she would prevail, despite Sonny's insistence that she should. Sonny contended that Alexis Davis would present her as a driven prosecutor, seeking recognition. And if Justine prevailed, Congressman Drew Cain would be upset with her for locking Willow up. According to the General Hospital recaps for Wednesday's show, Anna Dean spoke with Jason Morgan about her fear of Cesar Faison and requested him to ask Britt Westbourne if Cesar Faison was still alive. She broke down in tears and revealed that she had been relieved by Faison's passing after years of suffering from him, but that unpleasant feeling had returned. It feels like Faison's presence is closing in on me, Anna remarked. She felt guilty about the mayhem Faison had caused and that if he was still alive, she had to put an end to him. Jason went on to say that he had questioned Britt about her father's connection to the 5 poppies the previous evening, but they were cut off before she could answer. You can trust me when I say that man is dead, he said, reminding Anna that he shot Faison and that it wasn't faked. He also pledged to follow up with Britt. Jason proposed gaslighting Anna. Anna, still unsure, compared Faison's shooting to Nathan West's. However, Jason pointed out that Faison was older and had Huntington's disease, whereas Nathan was young and healthy. With a sigh, Anna acknowledged that Faison-related PTSD had overtaken her and robbed her of all rationality. Jason then wondered if Jen Sidwell and his group were purposefully using Faison's threat to control Anna's thinking and keep her off balance. Anna thanked Jason for his soothing presence before he left to pick up Danny Morgan. Anna has been abducted. Later, the commissioner entered her car and left a voicemail for Jack Brennan, stating that she thought Sidwell and his accomplices were using Faison as a distraction. According to General Hospital recaps for the November TH episode, Anna lost consciousness as soon as a gloved hand appeared from the back seat and covered her mouth with a cloth drenched in chloroform. When the commissioner came to, she was tied to a metal chair in an empty room. A man's voice came through a speaker as she screamed for help, telling her in a Danish accent that she was being given a new life. Anna yelled, "No," and fought to break free from her restraints, fearing for her life. The Davis girls made an effort to console Scout Cordine, Molly Lansing Davis and Christina Corinthos Davis attempted to console Scout Corn on Halloween, the first anniversary of Sam's death. Even though Halloween was her favorite holiday, she was hesitant to celebrate. Christina helped Scout decorate pumpkins. Molly went outside to get a surprise and they convinced their niece to watch Hocus Pocus. Scout mentioned how much she enjoyed hearing stories about her mother, especially since Drew mostly talked about Willow. Christina reassured her that she could talk to her grandma and aunts about Sam whenever she wanted. Danny Morgan is also at ease. Christina also gave her niece a supportive speech in which she reassured her that her mother was keeping an eye on her and that the Davis sisters were always there for each other. Danny said trick-or-treating reminded him of his mother, but Alexis was worried that it would ruin his Halloween preparations. So she called him into her office. Danny insisted he was okay and that Scout was the one they should be concerned about. But Alexis encouraged him to share his sorrow despite praising his fortitude for his sister. He believed that by neglecting his sister, he had disappointed his mother. Alexis pointed out that Drew was upset because Danny reminded him of Jason. Even though Danny blamed himself for the circumstance. Danny's special gift for Scout. According to General Hospital recaps for the Wednesday, November show, they both reminisced about Sam with tears in their eyes. Alexis reassured Danny that his mother still lives on through him. And Scout. She emphasized the admirable qualities he got from Sam and conveyed her pride in him. Danny gave Alexis a bag of sweets meant for Scout when Jason came to take him home. When Alexis was by herself in her office, she gave in to her feelings and started crying. Now that Drew had taken possession of the house, Danny asked Jason in the hallway about their sleeping arrangements. In response, Jason shared some positive information about the circumstance. James West spots his father. James West was taken to Bobby's to see Nathan by Damon Spinelli and Felicia Scorpio after they had taken him trick-or-treating. But to show Cody Bell his Halloween gifts, the child ran past his dad. Nathan saw the bond between James and Cody when Felicia introduced the men. Feeling disappointed that his son wasn't as excited to see him, he went back to his table. Felicia took a seat across from Nathan and reassured her son-in-law that all they wanted was for her to be kinder and embrace Rana's family. It's about being generous, which is what a family leader does. Whether you accept it or not, you are now the head of the Corinthos, he clarified. Although Tracy initially denied being the matriarch, she eventually acknowledged that she needed her family. And so do you, she said to her great-grandson, who concurred. Drew's transformation into a monster. His descent from Port Charles hero to something far darker begins long before anyone realizes it. And by the time the Quartermain mansion is ripped from his grasp and the walls of his carefully curated life collapse around him, the change is already underway. Subtle at first, then violent, then unmistakable, as if every unresolved trauma, every betrayal, every suppressed rage he carried finally found oxygen and exploded, sending shockwaves through a town already drowning in chaos. It starts quietly with the smallest fracture. The moment he walks into the Q mansion one night and overhears a whispered conversation between Michael and Brooklyn, one they assume is private, one in which they admit they're unsure whether Drew's recent erratic behavior makes him too volatile to continue leading Aurora. And he leaves before they notice him. But the damage is done because for Drew, loyalty is everything. It is the soul stabilizing force that kept him tethered through the Helena, conditioning through the memory, mapping nightmares through the years he lost not just memories but identity. And when he later stands alone in the living room remembering their words, something inside him quietly begins to burn. Then the next blow comes when Ned, now feeling the pressure from shareholders and the YQ board, publicly questions Drew's decision-making, citing Aurora's shaky projections. And Drew tries to keep his voice level, tries to be the reasonable, controlled, diplomatic man he once prided himself on being. But he feels the humiliation seeping in beneath his skin as Ned reminds him that business is not built on sentiment and that Drew's judgment is no longer reliable. Not since he came back from Greenland. And whatever captivity did to him, it clearly left a mark. This is the first time someone says it out loud. The first time someone suggests he came back broken. And though Drew laughs it off in front of the board behind closed doors, his expression twists into something harder, angrier, as he tells himself that if they want a monster, if they insist on treating him like one, then maybe he should show them what that looks like. But the real turning point, the one no one sees coming, explodes the night the Cordine mansion, the iconic, infamously combustible family estate, finally slips through his fingers. Because of all the battles he has fought, all the sacrifices he has made since returning to Port Charles. Losing the mansion is the one thing he cannot rationalize, cannot forgive, cannot compartmentalize. As the news arrives from Tracy, who says it almost casually, as if decades of legacy, power, memory, and identity tied to that house are nothing more than an accounting inconvenience. And though she claimed she had no choice, the market shifted. The taxes ballooned. The developers made an offer too lucrative to reject. Drew sees through her immediately, recognizing a maneuver disguised as pragmatism, another Cordine betrayal, masked as corporate stewardship. When he confronts her, his voice low and deceptively calm, Tracy dismisses his outrage with the trademark arrogance that has always defined her, telling him that this family has survived worse, that the house has burned down before and been rebuilt, that sentimentality is a luxury the QS cannot afford. But Drew does not hear strategy in her words. He hears disrespect. He hears dismissal. He hears a woman who has always seen him as an outsider reaffirming that status. And when he storms out, slamming the door so violently, portraits rattle on the walls. Olivia, who witnesses the entire exchange, feels a shiver run down her spine because there is something in Drew's eyes she has never seen before. In the days that follow, the transformation becomes rapid, unmistakable, and deeply unsettling as Drew pulls away from the people who once grounded him. Sam, who cautiously suggests he may be under too much stress. Curtis, who gently reminds him that resentment is corrosive. Carly, who tries to reach him, but finds him increasingly unreachable. And when he retreats into Aurora, practically living there, employees whisper that the CEO, who once made them feel valued, now stalks the halls like a predator, demanding impossible levels of output, firing junior staff over trivial mistakes, rewriting entire divisions overnight, and doing it with a cold, laser-focused ruthlessness that bears no resemblance to the compassionate man they once respected. The media catches wind of his outbursts, his cutting remarks at the charity gala, his verbal visceration of a reporter who dared bring up his time in Pentonville, and within weeks headlines emerge questioning whether Drew Cain, once a symbol of resilience and integrity, is spiraling into something darker, something volatile, something dangerous. Meanwhile, the loss of the mansion, becomes an obsession. Not because Drew ever cared about the property itself, but because it represents the one thing he thought he finally earned, a place in the Corinthos legacy. A seat at their table, a chance to rewrite his fractured history. And now it is gone, reclaimed by outsiders who see it as a development opportunity rather than a monument to a messy, dysfunctional, powerful dynasty. So Drew begins digging, calling in favors, pulling property records, financial statements, back channel communications, believing Tracy orchestrated the loss intentionally, that she blindsided him to consolidate power and humiliate him publicly. And the more he uncovers half-truths, discrepancies, abrupt paperwork changes, the more convinced he becomes that this was not business, it was betrayal. The conspiracy he builds in his mind grows by the day. And with each new piece of supposed evidence he gathers, his need for retribution deepens, metastasizing into something obsessive, something consuming, until the Drew, who once prided himself on calm deliberation, is replaced by a man who sees enemies everywhere, who views every disagreement as sabotage, and who begins weaponizing his influence with a precision that alarms even those loyal to him. One night, he shows up at Michael's house, unannounced, standing in the doorway, with a hollow expression that unnerves Willow. And without preamble, he asks Michael whether he knew whether he was part of the scheme to cost him the mansion. And Michael, confused, blindsided, insists he had nothing to do with Tracy's decision. But Drew does not believe him, dismissing every reassurance as manipulation. English, auto-generated.